Imagine for a second you are a German military soldier in World War II, and you've been sent to investigate a crashed Allied aircraft. And when you get there, you find the wreckage of a Lancaster bomber. But as you examine the wreckage more closely, you realise that this aircraft has 8 seats. But a Lancaster only has 7 crew. So the question is, what is this 8 seat and what does this have to do with a cigar? Welcome to No Effort November, episode, well, I haven't decided, Cigar C, there we go. So obviously as you go over an enemy country to drop bombs on them, that country will send defence aircraft up to shoot you down. But you sort of need to interfere with them. So you have rear gunners, you fly in formation, all this kind of stuff. But it doesn't really stop them from figuring out where you are. And so in the early days of the war, they would drop tinsel out of the planes, and this would cause problems with the radar and stuff like that. But it's kind of a reactive thing. But they did in fact come up with a more proactive session, and this is what ground-based cigar was. Essentially, it would pump noise onto German communication frequencies, and this was eventually miniaturized and then installed into the bombers of 101 Bomber Squadron. Now the thing about this is that you had an 8th crew member who was a German speaker, and they would essentially scan through the communication frequencies, and any time they found military communications, they tune their dial to that frequency, and they just blast it full of noise. They had three generators. They could do 3 frequencies at once, the first sort of generation, and later on they could do 5, 6 at a time. And it's interesting because this is one of those things that seems to have entirely been forgotten about. I happened to get this book when I was a kid that follows the story of 101 Bomber Squadron, and this was the entire sort of electronic warfare stuff, because this was the only squadron that was given this, and as a result they went on almost every major bombing mission, and because of that they had some of the highest casualties of any bomber squadron of the RAF in World War II. And I think this is something that's important and is worth being known, because this was, people risked their lives and people died to do this, to protect the other people and the other people in the other crews on the mission. And so it's I feel it's kind of a shame that it's been forgotten. In fact, when I read this book as a kid, there's a section in there that says that Bomber Command has no official recognition. It's got no, the RAF pilots have statues and plaques and stuff. And they said the Bomber Command they didn't have that because it wasn't the glamorous point. Fighter pilots that were incredible people. They had to scramble, had to be up from the ground into the air within minutes. They had to, they were fighting, all that kind of stuff. But these bomber crews were flying 6 hours to drop bombs and then fly 6 hours back. Sometimes missing engines, missing crew, holes in the fuel tank, all this kind of stuff. Sometimes completely blind. If they were shot down, they bailed out over enemy territory, not friendly territory. Obviously, since then, in 2012, there was a memorial that was commissioned in Green Park, London, for the Bomber Command. So that's it's nice that is more in the public eye now than